Forward TV. The world is thinking.
What about prevention? Why has prevention failed in the last 20 years? Well, it's been covered, I think, fairly well tonight, but it's certainly related to lack of access, and particularly the main tools of prevention, condoms and clean needles. We've heard very clearly about how vulnerable many populations that need access to these prevention strategies are, and the cultural context in many countries, although needs to be overcome, is a significant barrier. Have a look at this. This is the global condom need of about 24 billion and the global condom distribution about 6 to 9 billion. So the current funding supports about 3 condoms per year per man in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, as you can see, everybody benchmarking that against their activities, and it's very easy to realise how vulnerable that makes the average young person in sub-Saharan Africa. And to fill that gap is 57 million US dollars a year. So perhaps we should think about that as a priority. Women are vulnerable, and we need, as Juliet said, to have female-controlled prevention technologies. Female condoms certainly provide an alternative to male condoms, but they're more costly, and there's still, unfortunately, the possibility of male control. Why do we desperately need an HIV vaccine? A vaccine is the usual way to control epidemic infectious diseases traditionally, and we've been very successful over the years in doing that for many epidemic diseases, eliminating polio and smallpox and so on. And the effect of other prevention measures and the sustainability of behaviour is not possible for every person, and that is limited. But only about 5% of people in the developing world actually have any access to these prevention measures. So the expectations, unfortunately, are pretty bad. None of the vaccines currently in the pipeline is thought to elicit the typical response of neutralising antibodies which make vaccines work. So that's how polio works, that's how hepatitis vaccines work. We can't do it. We can't get a neutralising antibody response currently to this virus. So the best we can hope for is what's called a disease-mitigating cytotoxic T-cell immune response, which is the other arm of the immune system, in which what will happen is people will still become infected, but the vaccine, the T-cell response, will control the amount of virus, and therefore the people are less likely to get disease and less likely to transmit. That was the premise of the Merck vaccine, which you will recall failed miserably last year, and possibly also enhanced infection in some people who received the vaccine. Live attenuated vaccines, such as we use for polio and yellow fever, is a no-go with this virus. So what should we do? Well, we need to intensify the search for an effective vaccine. And unfortunately, the obstacle doesn't really lie at our ability to test vaccines. We obviously, with these trials, the Merck trial was an excellent example of a well-done vaccine trial. We just don't have the right basic science to understand how to develop a vaccine right now against this virus. And we need to intensify the search for alternative strategies for biomedical prevention, such as microbicides, taking oral prophylactic drugs, so taking the antiretroviral drugs to prevent yourself from getting infected, just like the oral contraceptive pill prevents pregnancy. So the same sort of principle, and those trials are ongoing. What should we do? Well, we have to intensify our current prevention efforts, and that's where prevention scientists looking at behavioural prevention really come into their own at this point in time. People like Juliet and the other social scientists at this university are in a major way contributing to this effort. So ways of improving education, fighting stigma, promotion of condoms, and making sure we have harm reduction strategies, particularly clean needles in these sort of explosive microepidemics that are occurring in many, many countries in our region. I think we should be implementing male circumcision, particularly in countries which have generalised epidemics. We have a 70% reduction in infection. If we had a vaccine that had a 70% reduction in infection, it would be stuck into people in no time. So we really need to get this on the move. And it's very important to link prevention to treatment, because when you get people into care, you can start telling them about how to not pass on the virus.